Hi folks, welcome to another Cancha Geometallurgy software tutorial. Today we're going to discuss the pivot table feature. Pivot tables are useful for summarizing data between tables in Cancha. For this example, we're going to be using the Bonnie dataset that can be downloaded from the link below. Here in the top toolbar, you can see that pivot is here between analysis and samples. I guess the easiest way to show you how it works is by giving an example. Many people have probably seen a similar layout in software such as Excel or Google Sheets. So basically, we might want to look, for example, by oxide category. Maybe we want to see things according to classified by gold grade. And maybe we want to know what the sulfur grade is in each of those blocks. But we only want to know the material that's in pit. Okay, so here we've chosen the average sulfur grade, and we hit the green button and it gives us this table here. So you can see that in low gold, in this domain here, we have an average sulfur grade of 0.64. In the oxide area, the gold's lower in here, a little bit higher here. In the transition zone, especially for the high gold, we have the highest sulfur grade on average. Okay, so it's only the average. Maybe we might also want to look, for example, at the maximum and the minimum. So with this selected here, we can click on more things, hit the green button, and it'll expand the table further. So you can see here how it's organized. You've got the gold grade broken down like this, then the sulfur broken down like this, and then the cells like that with the totals on the end. Okay. What can we do with this now? Well, we can either save it here with as a CSV file, or we can copy it. Just click copy here, and now I can switch over to, for example, Excel, and I can just paste that, Control V, and paste that into Excel, and these are now values in Excel. Another way to do it is to hit this button over here, which is copy as an image, and now when I go back to Excel and hit Control V, I've got the same thing but as an image, which I can scale and things like that. That's useful, for example, in PowerPoint or those sort of things, or maybe in a report where you don't want to mess around with table formatting. We can destroy the whole table just by hitting this thing here, get rid of the filter as well. Now, if we, it's also useful to, use things like lookups. So for example, if we've got sample ID as the rows, which is a very common table to use, and we can ungroup them. So here, some of the options we've got are grouping and ungrouping, but maybe we want to do it by phase as well. But phase should be before sample ID, so I'll just use the arrow here to bring that up. We don't want that to be grouped either, so we'll have it by phase, by sample ID, and maybe we want to know, for example, the average gold grade, but also we want to compare it with the lookup gold grades from the drilling lookups. Okay, so let's just try that. And we can see it's a longer table because it's got each sample, 2 rows for each sample. It's got gold labeled for them both, so we have to know which one of these golds is. There's not actually an easy way to look it up, because one is obviously a lookup and one's a head assay. A little bit confusing in this case, but the users hopefully can get their heads around it. And then we can see that, for example, that the head grade assayed and the head grade from the drilling lookups were similar in most cases. Okay, we can also, instead of looking at the averages, we can do things like count. So why might count be useful? Let's just get rid of that. And we want to say, maybe by, where are we? Go to the block model lookup. Maybe we want to know by oxide domain. We want to know how many samples were in each one. Well, there's not actually a way of counting samples, but what we can do is just count the number of gold grades, which is the same thing. So just select any any domain that every sample's got a value for, and then hit count instead. And then that'll give us the count on each one. Okay, so we can see here that we've got a spreading of samples here, but they're broken down to a lot of different domains. Might be better, for example, to have them a bit more grouped. So what we can do is go to, if we, instead of having them, if we have the grouping here, how does this grouping work? So grouping, we just go to the oxide here, go to the legend, and if, for example, I was to group the oxides, and then for whatever reason just group the other two as well. I mean, you know, we call one, we can just give it a name, A and B, and apply that. Okay, so now we've got the samples consolidated by A and B instead of by these other ones here. So when we go back to pivot and hit the green button again, now we've got the same number of samples at the end of the day, but they've now been grouped according to oxide or A or B, sorry, okay. So that's how it works. We've got grouping, we've got, you can change the order. Obviously you can also use, something I haven't mentioned is that you can also use numerical values. So let's try that. Let's say by high, low and medium arsenic. So I've got it by grouping. If I was to take grouping off, each individual value of arsenic would present a new row. So we don't want that. So let's just hit that. We can see now that in these ranges, low, medium, high and very high arsenic, these are the number of samples we have in each of the A and B domains. Okay, you might recognize that this is kind of similar at this point to this mosaic plot, where we could do the same thing. So here we could put, we can do this sort of thing. And if we were to do this for a count, then we get exactly the same thing. This is a bit more graphical. We got the silver count here for the mosaic plot with the colors and whatnot. Or we can do it by pivot table a little bit. Same result, different different procedure. Okay, so that's pivot table. And if you've got any comments, please post them to this video or email me to talk about them. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we always like hearing from the viewers and the users. So go ahead and let us know what you think about this feature, the pivot table feature in Cancha. Thanks very much.